That I will achieve, because I do the things I should, to my brethren kind and good. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. That I will achieve, because I do the things I should, to my brethren kind and good. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. That I will achieve, because I do the things I should, to my brethren kind and good. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on to reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on.
Yes, my Stray Dog family, let's keep moving on. One day we will reach the top. Don't you ever stop, just keep moving on. That's the theme song, and that's my daily prayer. Whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. And when you hear that song, you know it's time for another edition of Stray Dog. And time for me to wish you all a very pleasant night in St. Kitts and Nevis and throughout the entire Caribbean region. I greet my Stray Dog family in the Kittitian and Nevisian diaspora, those who are logged on to the World Wide Web. Just as we say worldwide, you understand that there was a worldwide breakdown or outage, I should say, of social media, Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp was down. The WhatsApp is up now. I'm not too certain about the Facebook though, but you can access the program on YouTube. So just tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell all that Stray Talk is on YouTube as we speak. Just go to Stray Talk with Ian Patches Liburd. So those in the Kittitian and Nevisian diaspora, I say good night. I can say good morning, and in some cases I am certain I can say good afternoon, because some of you are in Africa, there's some of you in Asia, there are a whole lot of you in Europe, and so too a whole lot of you all over North America. So I'm at liberty, as I said, to extend such greetings as I did just now. Someone will be applicable. And my Straight Talk family, today I woke up to the sad news, very sad news of another COVID-19 death. And I haven't seen the statistics, but I've seen the vaccination report. But I am still feeling somewhat subdued and a great sense of sorrow has come on all over me. And I wish to extend profound condolences to all those who have lost loved ones. And I want to also recognize those on the front line, this never-ending battle against this coronavirus. I heard of the passing of lawyer Anthony Johnson, and I wish to extend to my good friend and his brother Winston Paparazzi, I call him, my brother Johnson as well. And those who are really or have been exposed to the virus. I heard that my good friend and brother Ruben is hospitalized, and I wish Ruben a speedy recovery. So do I wish my dear cousin Marcella. I heard she's in quarantine for some time, but I wish all those who are under the weather, so to speak, I wish them a speedy recovery. But I'm also angry. I must be brutally frank with you. I'm also angry to the extent that I believe that there are some in our midst who are culpable. So much so, I believe we can find enough evidence to levy charges on some doctors, 3 doctors to be exact. I believe we can charge them with manslaughter for continuing to commit, I should say, the dangerous act of promoting vaccine hesitancy and thus exposing the unvaccinated to hospitalization and in 14 instances of death. It is grossly immoral, for example, when a doctor is fully vaccinated yet discourages others by his actions, by even hiding his own status with some flimsy excuse when asked about his own status in terms of the vaccinations. One doctor was always on the panic factory and talking and promoting vaccine hesitancy. We should charge him and others like him when he even hides his own status. Would you believe this?
Dr. Martin, I remember earlier you said you had your shirt that you were going to Newtown Health Center to take your vaccine, to get vaccinated. I'm wondering now, and I'm going to ask you if you are fully vaccinated. That's all I want to ask. Thank you.
Would you consider that to be personal and private medical information?
Personal and private medical information? What could be personal and private about a public figure and thinking about a vaccine and talking about vaccination? Once you're a public figure, you are up to the scrutiny of the public. She asks if you're vaccinated, yes or no. That's the question that was asked.
The minute you put yourself in public to offer yourself to your opinion, you are likely to be scrutinized.
Yes. Once you put yourself in the public, as you said, you're likely to be scrutinized. And I say, the death of lawyer Anthony Johnson must serve as a final wake-up call for the unvaccinated in St. Kitts and Nevis. We must admit, we are living in perilous times. And yes, we need each other. We need each other. Everybody is in agreement that we as a people need to come together. But for us to come together, we first need to reconcile things with each other and end the political tribalism, which only fosters disunity and eventually festers into a political sore called polarization. This sharp, unhealthy division in our small society in St. Kitts and Nevis, and the division is not between rich and poor, not at all. It is one fueled by politics. A political division between PAM and Labour, CCM and NRP, now with PLP in unity. But how? How can we reconcile things with each other when we cannot face the truth? Some of us are carrying scars. Some of us are carrying deep political wounds, but we are reluctant to treat them. It's like having a painful rotten tooth, yet we are afraid to go to the dentist. Or a pain in your head, but you are afraid to visit the doctor. Tell the truth. We all have different experiences. But Desmond Tutu once said, when he chaired the Council for Reconciliation in South Africa, he said we have to open the wounds and treat them, or else they will continue to fester. I'm afraid though that when I listen to our elders and influential people in St. Kitts Nevis, like Elder Clark, Earl Clark, and your young man, someone that I will always respect in spite of our differing views. When I listen to Sylvine Henry, Sister Sylvine, Mrs. Henry, to be correct and respectful, a retired public servant whom I love so much because of her high intellect and her strong resolve, her strong determination to ensure that the historical facts of St. Kitts and Nevis are not distorted. She's sometimes vilified, but I love her because she stands or sticks to her point, especially because she's always factual. Just a few days ago, she reminded us of what was called back in the 1970s under Bradshaw, flower power. Young people won't remember that, but I do.
They used to give food from Mr. Bradshaw, mackerel and flour.
For votes?
Yeah, ask them. The Canadian government gave us as part of the food. Can you hear? You hear? Ask old people. Mr. Bradshaw gave them out on the estate and had the people and put them up all in people's face. You hear me? Flour and mackerel.
Yes, and I admire the strong resolve of Sylvine, as someone would call her Queen Mother Henry. Because even in the face of her own vilification, she's prepared to tell the truth. And flower power is true. True. Very, very true. So when others will try to vilify her and say other things that are not true, you just have to ignore them. Ignore them. That's what we have to do. When someone would say something like this, it baffles me. It baffles me when someone would say something like this, as if I was living on the moon. When someone would say something like this,
Come got into power. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. The truth can set us free. My God, have mercy upon us.
I think we missed part of that.
We need to not bring back those things that we never pay for the vote. The voting start paying for when Pam got into power. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. The truth can set us free. My God, have mercy upon us.
Well, if Dougie ain't pay for votes, he pay for planes. Lots of planes. Lots of plane loads. So you may be right somewhat. But my Straight Dog family, I am troubled. I am troubled that so many of our people hold up the banner of tolerance and social justice, yet they seem to promote the woke culture. Yes, because they attack anyone that holds a differing view or a view different to theirs. They see everything through the lens of discrimination, injustice, hurt feelings, and political victimization. But this is just an effective smokescreen, because they can conveniently apply all sorts of labels to anyone who challenges them. You hear them yourselves: big stone, corrupt, thief, and lies, and the defamation goes on and on. But they don't talk the facts. They don't. They don't. They claim they believe in free speech, but will only allow speech that is approved by them. They try to suppress free thought and intellectual inquiry. They have no tolerance for diversity of opinions. They don't. It's a kind of censorship designed to intimidate and cancel those with dissenting views and reach a uniformity of thought. We talk about the St. Kitts Nevis Constitution. It was created to ensure our personal or fundamental rights and freedoms. The Constitution guarantees our freedom of speech, of religion, the right to own property, the right to privacy, the right to due process, and much more. But I have come to tell you tonight that there can be no reconciliation unless we as a people face the truth. We cannot advance the cause of reconciliation if we do not recognize that to err is human, but to forgive is divine. One who forgives becomes a better person than the one being consumed by anger and hurt. My family, I want to tell you as well, and I want to reflect on a quotation from Theodore Roosevelt, which goes like this: in any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The next best thing is the wrong thing. And the worst thing you can do is nothing. And I believe the best thing you can do and the right thing you can do is to take the vaccine. The vaccine will save us. It will save our lives. The vaccines are safe and effective. It prevents severe disease, hospitalization, and death. Yes, it does. Even the same doctor who is afraid to tell us about his status. He's a public figure, beg your pardon. But he knows, he can tell us that the vaccines, in terms of science, were investigated for years.
The science, the research and development has been going on for that long.
Right.
But the final, in terms of a candidate vaccine, that's what we're talking about. The candidate vaccines first came around in July, August 2020.
But they were investigated. They were being in the lab, the science lab, for years. So they are safe. So I want to say again, my family, we do have a moment of decision. What happens as we reflect on those 14 deaths, 11 or so in just about a month, and today must be a wake-up call. COVID-19, the coronavirus, is not discriminating, rich or poor, black or white. I can tell you, it does not discriminate. It's a moment of decision. The best thing you can do is the right thing. The next best thing is the wrong thing. And the worst thing you can do is nothing. Not to take the vaccine. I implore you to take the vaccine. My family, innocent kids. We are close to 69% or somewhere thereabout. Second full dose. We're going on 78%, I think I saw the figures some time ago, in terms of our second dose. Our first dose, beg your pardon. 76.3% first dose and 68.4% the second dose. The vaccines are safe. Prevent severe disease, hospitalization, and for sure death. The second thing I want to address tonight quickly, my family, was two sound bites someone sent to me, rather. And I was trying to figure out what the noise was all about with respect to the recently concluded high-level week at the United Nations General Assembly, until someone sent me two clips, two sound bites. One sounded like the voice of a lunatic, and the other was who my friend refers to as either Tiger Flowers, Governs, or Charlie Breadfruit. I don't remember which character he always referred to him as. But what I can say is, if Tiger Flowers had spent 3 consecutive months between September to December, for example, in each of his 5 years as ambassador to the United Nations, he would not be talking gibberish, unintelligible or nonsensical talk. But the sad thing though, is he himself has conceded to this, and that is sad.
They don't credit me, and I don't make no fuss about that, because that is not for me. What I know, once I know what I'm doing, is what I believe, what I think. I'm not saying that I am no scholar, I'm not brain, I know anything, I know everything. I'm not saying that. In fact, the best that could be said about me is that maybe I was an average student, and you don't have to be more than that to, but people think that I'm stupid. I ain't got no sense. I always have to follow what people say.
And that's sad. It's really sad. But when he can say things like this as well, you have to wonder.
But Dr. Martin, in that case, right? But why then it did not certify by those who what you call it, the
WTO?
Yeah. Why? If it's been around so long, why?
Imagine certified by the WTO. I didn't fabricate that. You want to hear it again? Listen for yourself, my Straight Dog family. That's why he calls himself what he calls himself. He agrees, as I said, with what people call him. And that is sad. Imagine this.
But Dr. Martin, in that case, right? But why then it did not certify by those who what you call it, the
WTO?
Yeah. Why? If it's been around so long, why?
Why? The WTO don't certify vaccines. And this man served as Minister of Trade. So he ought to know that the WTO is a World Trade Organization that has nothing to do with certification of vaccines. But let's get to the United Nations General Assembly, UNGA, as it's called. And UNGA is one of the 6 principal organs of the United Nations. It serves as the main deliberative, policy-making, and representative organ of the United Nations. Its powers, composition, functions, and procedures are set out in Chapter 4 of the United Nations Charter. The UNGA is the only UN organ, that's the General Assembly, the only UN organ wherein all member states have equal representation. The General Assembly meets under its president or the UN Secretary General in annual sessions every year at the United Nations headquarters right here in New York. And the main part of these meetings generally run from September to part of January. In the meeting which I attended today, this first session would run from September. It's running now, and it would break on December 13th, I think. And all the issues, or rather all issues, are addressed. Now, every year in September, global leaders and change makers gather at the United Nations headquarters in New York for 2 weeks. It's called a high-level week, in fact, to discuss the burning issues of our time and set the global agenda for the year ahead. Right now, the United Nations has gone into its 76th session of its General Assembly, I should say, which opened 2 weeks ago. Formerly known as the General Debate, which began on the Tuesday, the 21st of September, that's 2 weeks ago I think it was, whereby every country's leader got an opportunity to address the world. Now the General Debate is not actually a debate. It's really member states and the leaders take turns and deliver speeches. And yes, they do have a right to reply if required. But since the early years, the General Assembly or at the General Assembly, the first country to speak was Brazil, and that happened this year. And the historical facts to that, according to UN protocol and liaison officers, no one seemed to have wanted to be the first speaker back then, in the 1940s. And Brazil went first on several occasions, and this has become a tradition. So the president of Brazil, he addressed the high-level week as the first speaker. The second spot goes to the host country, which is the US. And remember, President Biden gave the second speech at the Assembly. Now let us reflect. The 75th session of the United Nations General Assembly, that was last year, and the 75th anniversary of the UN General Assembly was held virtually for the first time amid the COVID-19 pandemic from September 15 to September 30th, 2020, and hosted by the US, of course, and under the presidency of Volkan Bozkır of Turkey. Now, a virtual meeting, understand, is when people around the world, regardless of their location, they use a video, audio, and text to link up online. This year, the debate was conducted in a hybrid fashion due, again, to the COVID-19 pandemic. Heads of state or government elected to either, or rather heads of state or government, I should say, elected to either deliver their statement live from the podium in the General Assembly Hall, or to have a delegate introduce their pre-recorded statement. And as I said, the hybrid format refers to the physical location of participants in a hybrid meeting, which is a subset of people attending the meeting is located together in one place, to wit at the General Assembly, and other the participants join the meeting by conference call or web conference. Now, some CARICOM heads attended. Remember, Mayor Motley, my good friend Mayor, gave a passionate speech that people are still talking about today at the General Assembly. I read an article to the effect suggesting that Mayor should be the next UN Secretary General. She doesn't have time for that, I'm sure, right now. She's dealing with the people of Barbados and by extension the Caribbean. But we had others from all over the world, some attended. Almost 100 leaders or heads of government did not attend. It was split. But my straight dog family, many leaders were introduced by their own ministers of government, or in some cases their permanent representatives, those who actually sent in pre-recorded statements. But the fact is, it is the leaders, the heads of government or the heads of state. The composition of the St. Kitts Nevis delegation to the 76th session of the United Nations General Assembly was as follows. Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, Prime Minister and Minister of Finance et al., head of the delegation. The Honorable Mark Brantley, Minister of Foreign Affairs. The Honorable Akila Byron Nisbet, Minister of Health. Mr. Andrew Skerritt, Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister. Ms. Kebas, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Dr. Lois Stapleton Harris, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health. His Excellency Ian Liburd, I should say, Ambassador Extraordinary. Ms. Giselle Williams, Counselor. Ms. Asha D'Souza, First Secretary. Mr. Sheldon Henry, Second Secretary, Mr. Noel Laplace, Third Secretary, and Beyond Hazel, Senior Foreign Service Officer. And I must tell you, for the hybrid session, for those who are in person, you are allowed per delegation 1+3, so 4 persons were allowed. The Minister with Foreign Affairs was in person, I may add, as well. But in terms of CARICOM, and I heard this noise, and I was wondering what this noise was about. What on earth this noise was about? Because many of our own leaders were introduced and presented virtually. Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Pierre Joseph.
I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of St. Lucia to introduce an address by the head of government.
Thank you, Mr. President. Excellencies, I have the distinct honor and privilege to introduce the pre-recorded statement by His Excellency, the Honorable Philip J. Pierre, Prime Minister and Minister for Finance, Economic Development, and the Youth Economy of St. Lucia.
Mr. President, colleague heads of government and foreign ministers, country representatives, and members of country delegations, I bring you warm greetings from the most beautiful piece of territory on earth, the sovereign state of St. Lucia. Mr. President, I'm honored to address this body for the first time as the Prime Minister of St. Lucia.
So the Prime Minister of St. Lucia addressed this august body for the first time, but virtually. Comrade Ralph Gonzalez, a veteran, he too did this.
I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to introduce an address by the head of government.
Mr. Vice President, Excellencies, I have the honor to introduce the pre-recorded statement of the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. the Honorable Ralph E. Gonzalez.
Excellencies, we are convened at this 76th session of the United Nations General Assembly at a time of severe health, socio-economic, political, climatic, and security challenges globally, though unevenly, not in equal measure. The raging pandemic of COVID-19, which came upon us early last year, has put the world in a veritable tailspin.
We also had a virtual presentation from the Prime Minister of Antigua, who too was introduced by Ambassador Weston.
I now give the floor to the representative of Antigua and Barbuda to introduce the statement by the head of government.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is my honor and a distinct privilege to introduce a pre-recorded version of the national statement of Antigua and Barbuda to be presented by the Right Honorable Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, Minister of Corporate Governance, the Right Honorable Gaston Alfonso Brown, Prime Minister. I thank you.
Mr. President, the Secretary General, distinguished heads, ladies and gentlemen. I congratulate you, Mr. President, on your election to the presidency of this 76th session of the General Assembly.
Yes, and our own Foreign Minister introduced Prime Minister Harris.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, give the floor to the distinguished representative of St. Kitts and Nevis to introduce an address by the head of government.
Mr. President, Excellencies, I have the distinct honor and privilege to introduce a pre-recorded statement by the Honorable Dr. Timothy Harris, Prime Minister of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General, distinguished delegates, it's my privilege and honor as the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis to address the United Nations General Assembly today. On behalf of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, I extend my congratulations to His Excellency Abdullah Shahid of Maldives on his election to the presidency of the 76th session of the UN General Assembly.
And just to reinforce the point, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith, introduced her own Prime Minister, Andrew Holness.
I now give the floor, Excellencies, my dear colleagues, to the representative of Jamaica to introduce an address by the head of government.
Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, it is my great pleasure and distinct honor to introduce to you Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, who will deliver a pre-recorded statement. Thank you.
Your Excellency, Mr. Abdullah Shahid, I extend warm congratulations on your election to the presidency of this 76th session of the United Nations General Assembly. I also commend your predecessor, His Excellency Mr. Volkan Bozkır, for his work during the historic 75th anniversary, a particularly difficult year for the United Nations and its membership as we grappled with the insidious COVID-19 pandemic.
And that was the reason of the hybrid meeting. We are still grappling with this insidious COVID-19 pandemic. That's why the debate was conducted in a hybrid fashion. Due, as I said, to COVID, heads of state or heads of government elected to either deliver their statement live from the podium in the General Assembly Hall or have a delegate introduce their pre-recorded statement. That's why it was called hybrid. So I just couldn't understand what this noise was all about. I couldn't understand what the uproar back home was about. And for that reason, I felt obligated to bring clarity to this matter. And that's my story tonight. And I am not going to change it. At 14 before 9, I'll hear from you. I raised those two issues tonight. The UN General Assembly debate for high-level week and or the issue of COVID. And you may have some other issue to raise as well. That's the way I like to do it. Because you have your say. Without you, there's no straight talk. So I'll go to the lines. The numbers are 465-2555 and or 718-577-2916. I sometimes forget my emails. Forgive me, my people, for that. But that address is zizstraighttalk@gmail.com. I always like to implore you, respect others, and of course to achieve that you must first respect yourself. Let us try to be fair to all concerned. Let us try to build goodwill and better friendships. Let us try to say and do those things that are beneficial to all concerned, and in the process let us try to say and or do, or in saying or doing those things, I should say, let us strive to build a kinder, gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. At 13 before 9, I'll go to the lines and take my first call. Caller, you are live. Good night.
Good evening, Patrick.
Good evening, my brother.
How are you this evening?
How are you?
Sir?
I am peaceful.
Good. Just a few things. Did anybody call you, any of these people who moved into those buildings, those nice looking buildings, and thank you for making that low life way. See, this is what our people have to look at you. And I don't tell them already, you're a straight shooter. And that's what we need more in this country, straight shooters. You got them on that low life, whoever the person was, that they must put the next week the people started moving in. And not one of them called it and telling me thank you. I want to call them dummies and ungrateful, but not one person call. I haven't heard anybody call you here. I don't need to call you in private. This is the problem, the sickness with our people. But I want to thank you for those people. Okay? Now, let me ask you another question. Do you know if any politician, especially from the Labour Mafia Party, is involved with the Pandora Papers? You know, I know you're a very knowledgeable man, so you must have heard about the Pandora Papers. I don't know if everybody heard about that, but I'm sure we're going to come with somebody from the Labour Mafia Party who was thieving and robbing the people of St. Kitts. Robbing and thieving like monkeys. Like I say, I'm a victim, and you know. Anyhow, so if you know anything, let us know. But you, the man, the people could trust, okay? I have my own opinion on the, you know, on the job, COVID-19. What you're doing is okay. Go, you know, try to convince the people. But I'm totally against any government or anybody forcing people to take a job. Yes, make sure they're wearing masks and things. And as you say, it's good for them to take it. But no government must force anybody to take a vaccine, especially the governments in the Caribbean. And the last thing, I thought was only Dr. Harris from the Caribbean who gave a virtual speech. He must do everybody from the Caribbean did that. So anyhow, thanks for informing us and thanks for educating us on the happening with the U.S. Have a great evening, Patrice.
Have a great evening as well, my straight dog family. Yes, the Pandora Papers, I think was considered the largest investigation in journalism history, but sometime we'll talk about that. No, many leaders from all across Asia, from all across the world, including the Caribbean, gave or did a pre-recorded statement. And that's why this was called a hybrid meeting. So I was wondering what this noise was all about in St. Kitts and Nevis. Well, let's go back to the lines. Call you live.
Good night. Yes, Patrick.
Good night, sir.
Yes. There are a few things I want to say. Because after sitting here and listening to you, the way you outline all these things, I'm just wondering, you know, we are saying that St. Kitts and Nevis have 98% literacy. But listening to my good friend Sam, I mean, why they keep using Sam like a scapegoat? I mean, he needs to stop allowing these thugs and the labor movement to use him as a scapegoat on radio during the week. I mean, I'm getting sick and fed up that they're using him, I mean, in that fashion, making people laughing after him because saying the wrong thing, and, you know, he's supposed to know better. And he must put himself in a position where he always make people got to laugh after him. I don't like it. Trust me. Right, next thing I want to say to you, Pat, is in 2015 when you ran against the good doctor from Nevis, living in St. Kitts now all the years, I never do anything for Nevis. I would like to know, until today, why he can't produce, nobody can produce any documents when he was sitting in government doing the people of St. Kitts and Nevis work and cannot produce one document to prove what he was doing for all the money that he was collecting from the taxpayers of this country. I think you guys need to take that man to a tribunal. We got to call on our Attorney General to do something about that, because we must not let that go unpunished, because this man needs to tell us what is wrong with our documents, because up to now he cannot tell us what he have done for this country after collecting so much monthly salary. No wonder they are so rich. But God is looking down, and I want to say, to the people of this country. We got to be careful the people that we choose to lead us, because we're going to end up as a sorry nation, and we don't want that to happen. Parties, next thing again. I want to say to you tonight, you are doing an excellent job. They couldn't find a better man to send up there in the UN to speak on the behalf of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Because trust me, you're a smart man, you're a brilliant man, and even though you stutter, trust me, you always do it right. And because of that, I give you kudos. I want to say that the people of this country are behind you 110%. So I wouldn't be surprised next election that Dr. Harris run a full slate of candidates to run for this election, because I realize that the PAM party right now having a lot of uproar. Because if we continue to fight against ourselves as a unity team, we're going to end up in problem. And Dr. Harris may end up be the man to run with the goal. I want to say to you, that man is a good leader, a good captain. He knows to run a ship, and he knows to spend money. But he got people seem like they only want to sit back and collect stipend. Every month they want to hear, any stimulus package, we need to get our act together. People of St. Kitts and Nevis, we need to stop being so gravelicious and make sure that the country that we live in, the best will always be for the people of the country. I don't like the way some of us are behaving. And because of that, Dr. Harris, who is a godly man, a fair man, a man who loves his country, always try to do the right thing. And because of that, people of St. Kitts and Nevis can say that we are on our way out of poverty because of a man like Dr. Harris. The other man before was always taxing us to death, because if you can tax us from the cradle to the grave, my God, if he was to be there, I'll let know, so I don't know what would have become of St. Kitts and Nevis. My friend, let us continue to champion the cause for the good people of St. Kitts and Nevis, and let us make sure that whenever we make a decision, we always put the right leader to run our country, that our ship of state always stay afloat and not run on the rocks, and the bottom will always get smashed up, that we can always have to repair and go to the thing to get money. Because look at this, all these years, Dr. Harris, 6 years now and counting, and he hasn't gone anywhere to borrow any money, because he knows how to save, because he always makes sure that the people of St. Kitts and Nevis are first in line to make sure that we get the best. And I want to thank him very much. May God continue to bless Dr. Harris and the unity team, that they do whatever they do and do it right. May God bless you. Have a good night.
Have a good night, my brother. I want to thank you for the commendation. You made me smile about the stutter, because I was reminded of a comment by the current Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Philip Joseph Pierre, I think is the right name. He said he'd rather to stutter with the truth than to be eloquent with lies. Let's go back to the lines at 9:04. Caller, you're live.
Yes, good evening, Honorable Patches Liburd. I think for the gentleman just now, dear, when he said that why they allow Sam to go and make it a pool on the radio. You have an obligation to play back for the gentleman what Dougie say about him. The Konomono. I think you need to play it back so the gentleman could hear it, because he own partner, so he's a Konomono, and he doing that all the time. But when you look at in this beautiful federation of ours, last week, sometime last week, I got scared when I hear my good friend, so-called friend, Licky DuPont, was made in a statement about fresh election. I want to know really what's going on. If they say the government ain't got no money to do this, and the government ain't have thing, and you got 4 4 years more to go, and you're going to go and call an election. Something is really wrong with the government. But when you watch at what Liburd did the other day, it was in other countries, you're to charge with treason. When you don't know, don't be a fool and say you know. And make yourself a puppy show. Nobody gonna praise you, they're gonna laugh after you. You understand me? He remind me of a gentleman in Outer Antigua by the name of Brother Connie. I think you're old enough to know Brother Connie. The Bible in one hand and sex in the other hand. And that is what he continued to do. And then every time he go on the radio and lie, he telling people he got the evidence. What he done the other day, try to throw the government, elected government, to overthrow it, like, I call it overthrow, because there was nothing to all go so with what he talking. And Mr. Honorable Powell make it clear this morning on his radio show by reading out all the facts and so on from the Prime Minister and the UN to the Prime Minister. You know, but I still think that what Licky done was more than wrong. But let me tell you something. The fowl was removed from the roost. But I hear now he going and looking for a chicken coop. But when you build a chicken coop and give him, you're going to bring chicken rice too. So all them other radio stations who out there want to go take him on because he got a couple dollars and different thing like that. And he could trade around, they may throw themselves right off of the ear. And Patches, I don't know if you know in the early with the vaccination. I told you, me and Dr. Martin was in the clinic the same time, taking the first jab and the second jab. And when I hear Dr. Martin on the radio on the Panic Factory talking a lot of nonsense, and I turn to you on your station if you look back the bite and tell you he had his jab all up. And I agree with you. Because as a medical doctor, they should got some more pride and principle like that. You know, but I don't tell you, you know, and I don't say it here on the station. They have doctors out there giving false papers for $50 and up. Okay? So, what is going on with them? Just let them know that maybe they may end up in 1840. Patrice, God bless you. God bless the Prime Minister and the Cabinet, and all the best goes on for you all. The more light the burn, the more you all see all your way. Who God bless, no man curse. Who God put together, no man put asunder. Many will try to break up all you, but if they know what is good, you all will hold on to one another and pray you all have a safe sailing till 2050, 2000 and what, I don't remember when the next election. But God bless you all. And bless my Prime Minister.
God bless you as well, King Rockefeller, the people's king. And as I said, you know, and I'm dead serious about this, I believe some of these doctors are culpable. They ought to be blamed for some of these deaths, if not all of them. And, you know, I'm not a lawyer, but I am wondering if we can cite them for manslaughter for the things they have done, right? There's so much evidence that we can find to charge them, I believe, with manslaughter for continuing to commit the dangerous act. It's a dangerous act of promoting the vaccine hesitancy and talking about choice, and thus exposing in the process the unvaccinated to hospitalization, serious illness, and in those 14 cases, death. And it is grossly immoral, And a doctor who is fully vaccinated, yet discourages by his actions, even by hiding his own status. And you have death. It's 9:03. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you are live.
Hey, Francis, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
And I would like you to guide me if I'm wrong. This incident that being banging around and here about the Prime Minister and the speech to the UN and Mr. Mark Brantley. Now, I never work in top government offices. I work in the law section, middle management and then down there. But I believe firmly that if the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Prime Minister would have made that speech, there might have been some kind of dialogue between both of them. Because I don't think that the Prime Minister would have just get up and do things as how it being said on the air, without the Minister of Foreign Affairs knows exactly what he's going to be doing. And a matter of fact, I heard with my own ears Mark Brantley introducing the Prime Minister just a while ago when you played to the UN. So it means then that Mark Brantley had knowledge of the Prime Minister making that speech. My question is, what is all this noise about that the PM make the speech and Mark Brantley could... Yes, Mark Brantley could have done, I'm not saying no, but in this kind of crisis, and this is my opinion, in this crisis where we have a pandemic and all of these things, I feel it was much more fitting, with no disrespect to Mr. Brantley, totally no disrespect. I feel it is what was much more fitting for the Prime Minister to address the UN as the Prime Minister of the Federation in this crisis. So I don't see why people get on the ear. Mark Brantley was in New York. Mark Brantley was this. Mark Brantley is the Foreign Minister. Yes, his post hasn't been taken away, but sometimes we have to use the person who is head of state to do certain things. I don't see it as no disrespect to Mr. Brantley, because when I heard it first with Liburd, who is my good friend, I was a little bit upset when I heard it first, I'm going to be very honest. But now I heard you playing this thing tonight and hearing Mark Brantley's voice introducing him. It tells me that Mark Brantley knew what was going to happen. Am I correct? Patrick, you there?
Yes, Austin, you are perfectly correct.
Right, so I am saying, why would I try to drag a white sheet through the mud when there is no reason for pulling the white sheet through the mud? If Carlton has his mind, he said he got the evidence. I'm only saying what he said. He said he has the evidence. Well then, present the evidence to the speaker, because he said he was addressing the speaker, some speaker, I don't know what the speaker is. Present the evidence so that the public could get a much more feel and knowledge of the complete case. Don't just say you got the evidence, and nobody could judge the case properly because the evidence ain't presented in court. So that case needs to be thrown out. That case ain't gonna validity, in my opinion. Come on, we are big people, and yes, we have the political feelings. And because, let me tell you straight up in the patches, ain't everything the government do I feel pleased with. But at the same time, I elect them. I help to elect them. And whatever they do, I have to go along with it. Whether they're wrong or they're right. But I could still voice my feeling and say, listen, man, you all are wrong. But if we elect them to serve, let them serve at their best ability. Nothing is wrong condemning the government when they're wrong. Nothing is wrong totally. But if there's no issue between Mark Brantley and the Prime Minister with the UN story, let me don't flare up nothing. That is my piece, Patches. Have a good night.
Well said, my brother. There's absolutely nothing. The Foreign Minister was, you're absolutely correct. The Foreign Minister, in fact, reviewed the speech for the Prime Minister, and that's normally done. That's normally done each year. It has nothing to do, absolutely nothing to do with whether he was in New York, or wherever. The fact is, these are the UNGA, the United Nations General Assembly. For this high-level week, we'll have the debates. The debate, as I said, was conducted in a hybrid fashion due to the COVID. By that I mean, there's a subset of people, some would attend the meeting at the General Assembly, and they sit in the same assembly. Each delegation were allowed 4 persons. But it does not preclude the right, because the debate, the statements are done by heads of state or heads of government. And the head of state or head of government had the privilege to determine whether they will deliver their statement live from the podium, and Nevis as foreign minister. As the foreign minister, the Honorable Mark Brantley, my minister, gave this introduction.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, give the floor to the distinguished representative of St. Kitts and Nevis to introduce an address by the head of government.
Mr. President, Excellencies, I have the distinct honor and privilege to introduce a pre-recorded statement by the Honorable Dr. Timothy Harris, Prime Minister of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General, distinguished delegates, it's my privilege and honor as the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis to address the United Nations General Assembly today. On behalf of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, I extend my congratulations to His Excellency Abdullah Shahid of Maldives on his election to the presidency of the 76th session of the UN General Assembly.
And if you just scrutinize the list of speakers, and you can just go on to the UN website, it's public business, you would glean from the list of speakers that very night, about 3 or 4 speakers before the Prime Minister was this Prime Minister, who was introduced by his own Foreign Minister, Kamina Johnson-Smith, the Honorable Kamina Johnson-Smith of Jamaica, who is the Foreign Minister, and she introduced Prime Minister Holness. Listen to this.
Now give the floor, Excellencies, my dear colleagues, to the representative of Jamaica to introduce an address by the head of government.
Mr. President, Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, it is my great pleasure and distinct honor to introduce to you Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, who will deliver a pre-recorded statement. Thank you.
Your Excellency, Mr. Abdullah Shahid, I extend warm congratulations on your election to the presidency of this 76th session of the United Nations General Assembly. I also commend your predecessor, His Excellency Mr. Volkan Bozkır, for his work during the historic 75th anniversary, a particularly difficult year for the United Nations and its membership as we grappled with the insidious COVID-19 pandemic.
Yes, it's because we were grappling, as Prime Minister Holness said, from a virtual standpoint or perspective. We were grappling with the insidious COVID-19 pandemic. That is why you had a hybrid meeting. And a hybrid meeting is a simple reference to the physical location of participants. One or a subset of them will attend the meeting in person. The other participants, like the Prime Minister and the others listed on the delegation, would join the meeting by conference call or by web conference. In this case, it is by the video. So I don't know what this noise is all about. What's noise all about? Everybody knew. I'm sure the cabinet knew. I knew. And the minister knew as well what was going to transpire even before it happened. So what the noise is all about nothing. What has happened really? The game is over, you know. The game is over, but those on the opposite side want to put up the stumps and start another game. Not now. The game not going to start now. It's 13 past 9. 13 past 9, my straight dog family. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live. I want to thank you for holding. Are you caller? Yes, caller.
Good evening, Mr. Liburd. How art thou, sir?
I am peaceful. Yourself?
Yeah, not bad at all. Not bad at all. Relative to that hunger, as you call it, I've never heard it referred to that way before. But Mr. Powell this morning on his broadcast over Sugar City Rock read out the invitation that came to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, in particular to the Prime Minister of Head of State, to make his address to the 76th session of the United UN Assembly. And in it said specifically, he read it out, saying that because of the situation of COVID in New York, he didn't want to risk persons coming there and getting sick or spreading disease themselves. They should they have a choice. Either they could send their presentation virtually, which they prefer, or they could send it via video. And he did his virtually, as per the invitation which he received and read out by Michael Powell this morning. So I really don't understand what the fuss and bother and the headache and that kind of thing is all about. It's something that they're looking for making mischief, but they should look elsewhere, to be honest with you. Have a good night, man.
Have a good night, my dear brother. You know what's so sad about that? As the former ambassador was pushing, peddling this nonsense as well. But let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live.
Patrick, good night, good night.
Good night, my brother.
Patrick, I want to thank all of those supporters and friends and my good political friends and everybody who support me and who like to hear what I say. I celebrated yesterday, Patrick. And I almost had better get for me one. I almost had Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah?
And all those. Patrick, you got to be that to break them down, you know.
Happy belated, man. Happy belated. I wasn't aware of that.
Patrick, the amount of people call me and the amount of people text me and WhatsApp me and went on the site and all those things, Patrick. I feel so good to know that people in this federation respect me as what others do politically and talk for my country. And they tell me, do it, you continue to do what you're doing and say what you're saying, because only so the country will get peace. When we got people like you who come out and speak the truth and speak for your country and not try to twist things and turn things. Patrick, now, with the situation at the UN and the speech, we got some people want to just destroy the unity. People like Jerry and all those, you know, Jerry them all in the panic tactics. And I believe that the man who should have get thrown away from the radio station, he does a lot of information from Jerry. You understand? Because I hear him say that he had a meeting with the same Jerry. When you hear all those things, he just come out and meet with Jerry and all those things. So, I don't know patches. People like listen to rubbish and people just like listen to nonsense. No patches in this point of this COVID now. We got 15 deaths now. 15 deaths. And people still ignorant, saying that nobody dead by COVID. They want people to take the vaccine. And all those ignorant, Up to the night in the party, I was talking to a gentleman. He's a support the Labour Party. And I think he must have got the overseas passport or something. And he said that he won't take the vaccine, but he won't take it here because he ain't trusted here to take the vaccine here. I tell him to them, is the same vaccine you're going to take? So why not to take it here? So parties, a lot of them, right? A lot of them who don't support the government, they feel that if they take the vaccine, they're doing the government something. You understand? But they're doing the government something. They're doing themselves. They're doing the family. They're doing the children. They're doing the whatever. Because they're educated and no better. They hear what's happening out in the outer world. So many people are affected by this COVID. So many people are dying. If you take the vaccine, right, and you got poor health, what going to take place with you? You got an 80% chance to live with the vaccine, they export themselves who create the vaccine. And people so ignorant, just plain politics. Going on the panic factory, talking all kind of nonsense. Up to this afternoon, people from overseas, people from Parliament tell me that we must listen to the panic factory, they hear woman from the radio calling him. But I don't study them, I don't listen to them. I say, I don't even waste my time here. Because I do not listen to them. I love my country and I will do anything for my country. Whether Labour in, Pammy in, whoever in, I will do anything for my people and my country. Because that is all about me and my country. That is about blessed night. And I just want the people to do what they got to do the right thing, go and take the vaccine. The vaccine is the only survival force right now. And everybody see that people are dying. All right then.
Thank you very much, Mr. Paul. This email reads, if we have to live with the coronavirus, then all of us, citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis, have to obey the law. The reason why the coronavirus is going up in St. Kitts and Nevis is because some persons are not wearing their masks properly, social distancing, using hand sanitizer. Through no fault of their own, persons cannot take the vaccines in St. Kitts because they are allergic to the PEG in the vaccines, and some have medical conditions. St. Kitts and Nevis urgently needs an allergist doctor to work along with Dr. Hazel Laws and Dr. Wilkins reads that email. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, I want to thank you for holding your live.
Greetings, Mr. Patches Liburd. How are you?
Greetings, I am peaceful, my brother. Yourself?
I'm very good. Well, adding to your program from last week, this week, you make it more. You make it more pepper, man. You put more pepper in the pot. That is good. Melvin Edwards, you remember Melvin Edwards, the son of the soil? You know, when he was around Okola, he had a song, maybe you know it. Stop all the copying and all the imitating. It's time we do we own thing. You remember the song with Melvin Edwards?
Of course.
A long time song, man.
Yes, man.
You should. You're grassroots, man.
Yes, I do.
Yes, and when I hear your platform tonight, especially talking about reconciliation, and it's good also you bring up such education concerning the UN, because we never had a platform like that before, having other UN ambassadors, but we didn't really have no education background of that sense. So that is good, and it's good for the country, because only through education our people will strive for liberation. And if we say we love God, at least we got to strive for education to first. Reconciliation, Mr. Patches, and it's true. Many persons in here would like the status quo to remain. You know, the people voted for a unity change. And it's because the people, I mean, when you walk the streets of Bastille, Mr. Patches, and you jump in them buses, you hear the people telling you good morning, good afternoon. When you people in a society doing that to each other, a godliness is in the society. So those kind of things you can't forsake. And God being good to us. And you know why I say that? If we say this country was going down a dark road, And we now see, even under a pandemic, we can handle our own affairs. We have to give God thanks and praise all the time. We have to say, well, our economy is being managed, and at least the people of the country seeing what they could get out from the country. You know, and it's good the politicians with this pandemic, you ain't hearing this word mandatory spread out. You hear more in words of encouragement spread out, because that is better. When you praising God, you don't force nobody to do anything, because God didn't do that to his people. He leave people up on himself, and within your lifetime, you either do good or, you know, you face the consequences. So, all we need to have more in our country, Mr. Patches, is marketing. You know, I cannot see why the tourism ministry cannot work a little more closer with the agricultural ministry to put more international marketing for the people of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. I don't think we should just doing things when it comes to agriculture just for national produce. I feel we should establish a market out there in the world and let the people know, listen, we have a market out there for we to send product. We screen them to help foreign currency, and we help eliminate poverty. These things is good. When we in corner, we're supposed to come up with more ideas to establish our people. And look, when you are, we just are going to have to raise it now, Mr. Patch. When you walk the street of Bastille, once ago, you see people in all kind of party shots. You ain't seen them things around. You show you where the unity administration helping to reform the kind of parties and politics in our country. The people cannot say that they're going back to a party. They won't show in God no strength, because remember, we all say God was in the election, and he still is. He never out. He's within the corona everything. So is the people got to stand up and stay strong, and the unity administration got to continue reforming the country in each and every way. Mr. Patrick, you stay strong and you stay healthy.
Thank you very much, my brother. Always have to sit up and listen to your interventions, but you're so correct in terms of reconciliation. You know, I mean, we just have, there can't be no reconciliation. And I'm troubled, as I said, that so many of us, so many of our people hold up this banner of tolerance and social justice, yet they seem to promote the woke culture, as we've heard of that, because they attack anyone that hold a different view or different view to theirs. And my Stray Dog family, we have to understand that there can be no reconciliation unless we as a people face the truth. It's 9:26. I go back to the lines. Caller, I thank you for holding.
Namesake, good night again.
Yes, namesake.
No, this is a problem that they have in this country, you see, because the former prime minister used to jump and plane and go abroad and travel when he feel like and stay as long as he wants, because he could have run the country off a BlackBerry. But my prime minister presently prefer to stay at home. So what is wrong if you do a virtual presentation? We hear what he said and we understand and we enjoy his presentation. And what is wrong if Mr. Brantley had to present the presentation to the assembly? Nothing is wrong with that. Mr. Brantley is a decent and honest and bright scholar. So we could afford to send Mr. Brantley anyway, because he can deliver and he know how to deliver. We never heard those speeches before from the other guys. Brother Mark Brantley is a star, and that's why he can shine anywhere he go, because he have what it takes. He's a Nevision. I'm a proud Nevision as well, and I want to big up my premier because he's good, and that's how I hurt them, because they don't want him to be up in the spotlight. But he and the Prime Minister, know that both of them are brilliant young men, and that's why at this point in time the people chose them to lead the country. One in Nevis, one in St. Kitts. Brilliant young men, and that's why they're going to stay until the people decide we had enough of you, it's time to take a rest. Because they are good men, and they are honest men, and they are men of truth. And we get more truth from these men than what we used to get before. We used to get a whole bunch of lies, pig in a bag. But I want to say that we love our country, and the ministers them that we elect, they are doing a good job, and that our hurt them. So let them sing about that, let them put it in the pipe and smoke it. May God bless you as we continue to let the country run, because the country is on a good footing, and we're going to continue to run, not going down a slippery slope. We are running on calm, smooth waters. That's how I hurt them. God bless you. Have a good night. Let us sing about that.
Yeah, God bless you as well, my dear brother. At 9:29, we go straight back to the lines. Caller, you're live.
If it is me, thank you for having me.
Yes, you're live.
Sometimes when you hear people talk, sometimes you wonder why one will have to reprimand them. Okay? But in spite of all the issues that is plaguing us in our Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, instead of picking unnecessary topics to defer and deter the people, I wish everyone should go back to the basic of common sense. We have a problem, and that is what we got to focus on. Not because this should be that, that should be that. Well, the Prime Minister should have been speaking, or Mark Brantley should have been speaking, or Mark Brantley should have been introducing, or what. The point is, everything went smooth. What is the critique? I mean, stop wasting your time. I'm not making a political statement, but I'm just talking from common sense. And if you got to talk to big men like little boys, father talking to a son, some people, they think they have status, but they are little boys. They're not grown up yet. I mean, you got something to focus on. You got a pandemic to focus on. People are dying. Okay? What is it to do with the United Nations and who should talk or what? I mean, to whom the cap fit? I'm talking to you. Grow up and move on with what is essential to the country and to the people. Cut out the nonsense. I want to say BS, but I don't want to be rude if some people might be offended. But look, the country, the world is at stake. Humans are under attack. Just try to come up with proper solution and move forward. Stop the propaganda. Stop the fake misinformation and heal the country. I mean, people, everyone should have every man meant to be leaders, but why should there be people be followers and follow foolish ideas and foolish stupidness? Up, man. Anyway, I will just leave my case right now. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Well presented. As it was said, as I said before, they said we cannot advance the cause of reconciliation if we do not recognize that to err is human, but to forgive is divine. And one who forgives becomes a better person than the one being consumed by anger and hatred. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, I want to thank you for holding. It's 9:32. You are live. Yes, caller.
That Dr. Martin is vaccinated. If what Rock stated is correct, Well, what is Dr. Martin's argument and the ear about vaccine? Because here makes you protect yourself, but smartly, it appears to me that HOE tell people not take no vaccine. So I am looking at two things, at two doctors. Dr. Martin, holding his fire and water in the same hand. The former Prime Minister, who is a doctor again, he ain't vaccinated, but he not tell nobody. He not say the reason why he not vaccinated. He ain't saying, okay, well, it's not safe. He ain't coming out and saying straight up, it's not safe, you know. But he just playing a smart game to see if he can people follow him. But up until now, they don't recognize they don't lose the vaccination race because we were, what that would be? 76, 78%. Am I correct? How far we are, Patches? Patches?
I'm sorry, Austin. I'm sorry. Bear with me. We are 69%, 68% in terms of our fully vaccinated, and we are 73. I'll get that for you. Give me a second, so I don't misguide you. But go ahead.
The point I'm trying to make, Patches, when you go to school and you sit an exam, they give you a pass mark, 60%. If you get 61%, 60, 61, they say you pass. If you fall under 60, you get 59, they say you fail. With Dr. Douglas and Dr. Martin, they recognize that we don't pass the 70% herd immunity, so we don't win the race. And when I say we mean attacking politics, attacking petition. And for us to get 70%, it means that even the people who actually detour, not pay them no attention. So why they not hush? It's easy if they hush. It is very easy if they hush, Patches, because people are stupid, you know. Because me don't call nobody named Patches. We had about maybe 2 deaths over the weekend, and I'm hearing that it was COVID related. What do you think other people not take Eve? So other people going out, people not stupid, people don't recognize, I saw you go, me not take neither Martin nor Douglas. They told them to play a political game to the top people mind. That's the whole thing. Have a good night.
Yes, have a good night as well, my brother. As of today, there's 76.3% first doses and 68.4% second doses. Those who have had a second dose and those who had a first dose up to 76.3%. I think the target figure is 80%, and we want to get there, hope to get there so we can and just open the country fully. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live.
Hello, sir. Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening,
Hello?
sir.
Yes. I would like to see Mr. Mark as the next Prime Minister, and also I would like to know where the government is getting money to give all this stimulus. I will get over here and listen.
Thank you very much. Well, we have a fiscally prudent Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, you know, who saves for the rainy day. You heard, I think that was the comments of the central bank governor. I'll find that comment for you before the program is done, and that will perhaps answer your question. Let's go back to the lines. It's 9:37. Caller, you live. Yes, caller.
Greetings. Your line is terrible.
Yeah. Yes, you're live.
Please acknowledge that I'm live. I'm live.
Yes, you're live. The whole world is listening to you.
Okay, that is good. We are part of Earth inhabitants, so it's right there. Give thanks for your sharing so far, you know. You know, we hear the words reconciliation. And we hear the word heal, you know, healing. Those are very profound, you know. and potent words, you know. Word sound must be accompanied with power, you know. It's like put on flesh, put on clothes. So, in the same vein, we cannot, you know, a fountain can't send forth sweet and bitter water at the same time, you know. I think it's somewhere in the book of James. Yes, we not got to the reading there, but I think it's just right there. And we have to be consistent with what we are dealing with. Now, while we say reconciliation and healing, we use words like and entertain and encourage words like mafia. And I can just go on and on. Don't want to repeat them. I don't feel happy repeating them. If we try go down the road of healing and reconciliation, we have to stop now. We have to stop in our tracks of the things, doing the things, thinking the things, speaking the things, acting out the things that put us here so in the first place, that we see it necessary for reconciliation and healing. We can't continue down the line there in the name of Westminster style politics. Although we say, we hear people that say, oh, it's not politics, this, you know. What it is, that's what it is. Party style politics, and we are bigger than that as a people. Much bigger than that as a people. So what are we really dealing with? One step forward, 6 steps backward. It can't work enough. It is not going to work. We must be consistent with. You hear the words that you use in your intro. Gentler think it's a Nevis. Repeat it for me.
Yes, my brother. I said we want a kinder, gentler,
gentler. Yeah, man. I met about how we gonna have a kinder and a gentler. The person called earlier and talk about the way we deal with people when we enter buses. Shows that it's still in a way. We're not doomed. I see it myself. Because we take the bus, you know, we take the bus, bicycle walk. So we see it in the buses. We don't know each other from Adam, you know, when they settle on the bus, they might realize there's somebody on the bus, you know. Come on the bus. Good morning. Good afternoon. Yes, just like that. And that it shows that it's in a way. But we must make sure that we make it flow over everything that's trying to take it out of me. And Westminster style politics is one of them, religion is another thing, and we can just go on and on and on. So we are in a global affair. Think it's Nevis part of the Argentine. So we have global pandemic. And in the midst of this crisis, we're not learning. We're not learning. We still live like crab and barrel in the name of Westminster style politics. And at the same time using words like healing and reconciliation. We need to take it to that level. We need to take it to that level. Otherwise the doom that catch others will catch we. Blessed love.
Blessed love, my brother. The thing about the issue really is that, yes, we need reconciliation, but we don't want the truth, you know. And you cannot reconcile without the truth. You know, as I mentioned, Bishop Desmond Tutu during the commission, a council, I think it was called, right? You know, in South Africa they introduced what they call the Promotion of National Unity and Reconciliation Act. It was legislated, and Tutu, who was chairing the council, said you have to open the wounds, you know, treat them, you know, clean the wounds, treat them, unless the wounds will fester. But let's go back to the lines. Caller, you are live at 9:43.
Mr. Patrick, good night.
Good night, sir.
And how are you?
Oh, that's my brother, the Bible man. I am always better when I hear you.
Bah, you always blessed when you hear me?
Yes, you know, you're gonna bring that biblical perspective. Yes, and soothes the soul.
Well, listen here. A lot of people don't know who God is. Number one. A lot of people, their God is their belly. A lot of people know a lot of things happening in St. Kitts, Nevis. Now, in Proverbs tell you, not Proverbs, in Jeremiah chapter 17, and I believe verse 9, it said the heart is deceitful and desperate wicked. Who can know it but God? God said, I search the heart. Now listen here. I don't care what people say, Mr. Patrick. I don't care what people do. If people got a big Bible in their hand from Genesis to Revelation, and if they know how God used to deal with the kingdom of all, they will understand that it is one of the fearful things to fall in the hands of God. Now, Mr. Patrick, Paul was Saul, and he used to do what he was supposed to do. And God asked him a question one day, Saul, Saul, why persecuted thou me? God tell him, why persecuted me? It is hard to kick against the prick. And today, a lot of people still kicking against the prick. Now, let me tell you something, you know, and I'll see you later now. I come up and I saw things in St. Kitts. I really get me conversion as a born-again believer. And I read the Bible, and I ask the Lord to reveal Himself to me. And I'm telling you tonight, people must better understand themselves. God, the Word of God says it's a fearful thing to fall in the hands of. You understand what I'm telling you? God is a wonderful God. He's a good God, a merciful God, a loving God. But remember, brother, he is an angry God. But I'm saying tonight, when people start to crucify what God put up, one of these days you can regret the day they ever do such thing. And people are playing around. And remember that Galatians chapter 6, verse 7, he said, be not deceived. God is not mocked. Whatso a man soweth, he shall also reap. And a lot of people in St. Kitts believe they could sow potato going and get yam. Nothing tall go so. Mr. Patrick, you are doing the best of your service. God gave you the utterance to do what is right for your fellow men and your country. And you do not take no chances with God, Mr. Patrick. He's a God, a consuming fire. And a lot of people don't realize this minute to ya, this minute to Ghana. So all we have to do, and all we have to understand, we have to realize there is a God in heaven. He is going to and fro, beholding the good and beholding the bad. And the second to last thing I can say tonight, because I may come back on the phone. Every knee shall bow, every tongue shall confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. And he is the creator of the whole universe. The last thing I can say, in Psalms, preparation and come from man. God is the judge. Nobody, and I will say it again, nobody could put up a king. God say he put up and you take down. When God will tell Saul, tell Samuel, I have rejected Saul to be king over Israel. I am not calling nobody's name tonight, yeah? But my brother, when you do what is wrong in the sight of God as a king, God going to pull you down. And God is going to put up who he chooses to run this country. And people who believe to themselves, they can really rant and rage and go on terrible, call up, and I got no kind of godly fear in the heart for the Prime Minister. For the Prime Minister, one of these days, they are going to regret it. And as I'm saying, Pastor, you have a pleasant night, and may the good Lord bless you mightily. Thank you.
Thank you, my brother. Bible man, That was a marathon, but long time I have heard you, so I gave you that opportunity to make up. Thanks always for your inspirational words. Let's go back to the lines at 7 before 10 o'clock as we wind down tonight's programming. Let's try to see how many calls you can get in. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller. Yes, caller, you're live.
Yes, good night, Patches.
My brother jumped down.
Patches, you know Foreman Bobby dead. Foreman Bobby. Kibidua Foreman passed away.
Of course.
Bobby was a great guy. Good man. Make sure poor people get walk around the waterfall. God bless Bobby and his family, Patches. He served this country well. From a boy to a man state. Bobby served this country well and so think it's a Nevis well with the profession. Patches, you know we get in a cruise ship tomorrow. And we appealing to the people who think it's Nevis to cooperate because this country gotta make money, Patches. We gotta get that there making money. And put the differences them aside and let me cooperate. Let me get things going. Patches, I want to send a client call to the tourist department to make sure that the poor vendors them down in the opening that they could make $1. Patches, I told you, you know, when Kennedy Simmons built the one-way dock up there, when he went up there for the first time and he see where they had the vendors them outside the port, Ken said, no, you know, these gonna make the first $1 after ship and the last one well back on. And so he moved them right down by the warehouse, Transit Shed 1, right on the dock. Anytime I talk about it, I remember Memphis, here up where you be in Miami. Because now you always listen, Patches, and you use them and low sink it, and you're very straight. We got a lot of worse potatoes still around in Memphis. But they can't stop this country. The guys them doing a good job. Anytime this marshmallow fall away, is because they don't understand the importance of representing people. Patches, you have set the bar very high as a politician, you know, as a small man, reach there and serve. You have set the bar high. I warning some of them, you know. When me jam down a see from them, I don't expect me to support them stupidness, you know. Come on, I representing people. These is things we abuse about, you know. And I got to do better than that. We want to see kids, even though we're going through the pandemic, we all could do better. And I asking these permanent secretaries to make sure that the people work for the government money. They must do these things, Patches. Patches, quickly before I go, I want to shout out the good people in the front of the port. UDC, Cindy Deming, and she staff, they're doing a real good job. The nails them complaining how they're so pleased. What I see happening, you know, she picked it up from Mr. Philip and she continued the good job from Philip. Philip himself done well. He done well for the years he was there. He served well. I respect him. But I'm glad for this young lady. She come and she trying to keep it going, and the chairman of the board trying to give her the support, and they're going good. This is where we want. This is where me jam down here want. And we asking the people when they ship boat there tomorrow, let this country make money. And Mr. Politics, the old man tell me to tell you that make sure the drain them down there in Boyd's clean, man. Grass going in the drain. These is things they want to hear you talk about. Come on, man. These people got to work for government money. We're going to tolerate that, you know. And don't tell the government, you know, if local young man is not going to work because they're white, get Spanish to clean the drains, them. The drains, them must clean. We want to see the drains them clean. Man ain't gonna just try and go make money, and when you walk through the world, them you see this dirty drain smelling bad. Come on, not to jam down, you know, jam down and talk, eh? Patches, have a good night, take care of yourself. If the federal think it's his permanent secretary, let's try to do better from tonight. Have a good night, Patches.
Have a good night, Jam Down. Always so passionate about your country. Alfonso Bobby Archibald, you just told me he's gone to the great beyond. I do wish his family, extend condolences to his family. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live.
Right. Patches, good night again.
Yes, my brother.
Yeah, Patches, I want to commend you on behalf of Straight Talk. I believe that in the past years and going on for now, you are doing a wonderful job informing the people of this federation and Straight Talk, because you all got your facts right, you all got your facts straight. And Straight Talk, if never was Straight Talk, I think the lot of ignorance you're peddling in the country and going to the diaspora, where our national be listening to. And we, culture and people like Jam Down, wasn't there to counteract them. I believe that maybe this unity will have done fall. Patches, today I was in town, and a young lady met me, and she had earpiece in she ear, and she was listening to the Panic Factory. So she put one earpiece in here. Listen here. When you think who on? Curtis Cook was on saying he had COVID and this and that and that and the other. So Patches, I'm going to tell you now, the Panic Factory ain't going away. It's down and down they're going. You see what they got on the station talk about the Liburd administration? People have no respect for nobody. People have no respect for man. People have no respect for God or nothing. Just meeting people in town, discussing them politically and all those things. Look what they got in the station. Look what they got in the station talk about they representing the labor people. Look how they got. And the DJ. No wonder nothing gonna come good there. Because they don't have no respect and they have no love for the country. They were talking about some package they give out when the country was cool. But they do it politically. Because they set up a young girl to come and a voice note come talk about how she family them all in some kind of place quarantining and they ain't got nothing to eat for days. Nobody bring nothing to them to eat. And that's how the thing start. Company where they sell that. They ain't love no country, they ain't love nobody Patches. They're just politically motivated and they will do anything to bring down this unity government. But Jam Down, I'm going to deal with the GM thing down here. You understand? I mean, as I see a few fellows come with the thing, with them who thing and clean them out now. So, everything going to be alright. This unity must go on and we want it to go on, Patches. We can't listen to people like Curtis Cook them with the political ignorance. That is why Straight Talk there. And that is why we coming and we talking the things them. We're happening in our country and other ignorant people. Because people got a little money, they could go around and feel like they could say anything about the government and try to bring down the government. Rock, you have a good night. We got to back this unity, we got to support this unity, we got to support our country. It's not about we, it's our young future generation to come. Okay then, Patches.
Okay, my brother. I promise to have the governor of the central bank provide this comment for the question that was asked earlier in terms of where the government is getting the money from. I hope I found the right soundbite, but this may give you an idea.
Trucks will come. Many of them are externally driven. We have no control. So the question is, how do we best position ourselves to cushion the effects? One of the first areas that we've really encouraged is building fiscal resilience. Essentially, it is what our parents and grandparents did. Set aside something for a rainy day. The sun may be shining, but it will not always shine. Rainy days will come. And so we have been encouraging countries, encouraging our governments to set aside something so that in a period of downturn or economic difficulty, the government will be in a position to spend more and to help cushion the effect on the people. I know in St. Kitts and Nevis, the government has some reserves, and they have been deploying those in this period to help, and that is welcome.
That, I hope, answers your question, the caller earlier. That's where the money is coming from. The government has fiscal resilience, according to Governor Antoine. And this email reads, we the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis have to obey the laws of St. Kitts and Nevis. The reason why the coronavirus is going up, because of the citizens. I thought I read this before, isn't it? But are not wearing their masks properly, practice social distancing and hand sanitizers. Through no fault of their own, some persons cannot take the vaccines because they are allergic to the PEG in the vaccines, and some have medical conditions. St. Kitts Nevis urgently needed an allergist doctor to work with Dr. Laws and Dr. Wilkinson. They need to find out how many persons in St. Kitts cannot take the vaccines. I'll take about 2 more calls. Let's make this my penultimate call. Caller, I want to thank you for holding you alive.
Patrick, look how radical me get in here at the last, and I was the first to get in. Anyway, thank God I'm in. Patrick, let me tell you, all those who are arguing about and talking about those people saying bad thing about the country. It is wrong for people to talk down your country. But let me tell them this. You have the devil and you have Christ. The devil got some and Christ got some. And do not expect the devil to go and commend Jesus Christ for the miracles that he performed. It ain't gonna happen. All what you do, when they start to criticize, then we come with the truth. And only the truth will let those in the diaspora know what is really going on in St. Kitts. But when they come with the propaganda, and we who know the truth hush, and we have a chance and opportunity to speak out the truth, let it out to the world, and we ain't do it, we are condoning wrong. We are condoning wrong because dog and I got phone. And if you hear somebody say that they're going to burn down Mr. John House, and you know you could stop it, and you don't stop it, you're worse than the person who burned down Mr. John House. Now, Harvey, good night. And everybody, good night. Harvey, you said something tonight that why the Kunumono man allowing them to use it. He ain't allowing them to use it is what he is. Nobody can take up a doormat and put it on your cabinet and your showcase. The doormat stays at the door to wipe your foot on. A doormat has its place. There are certain categories in this world that everybody know well, hey, that category up there is not for me. I'm not qualified to be up there. You ain't hear what he said. We want to talk about the PAHO, Pan American Health Organization. He said WTO, World Trade Organization. So therefore he's not supposed to be there where he is. And God give everybody a head with a brain in it to use. And our brain supposed to be our dictator. And when the brain dictates for us what is wrong and what is right, you assess it and then you analyze it. You don't just jump so. Because you could be wrong. If you're wrong, but you mean to be positive, somebody who knows the truth, they will correct you. Well, anyway, Patrick, let me say this here. I'm going. I had a lot of things to say, but time short. I am not a postcard. I am not exhibited. And I'm very selective in my choices that I make. And when I come on the radio, I want to be positive and bring the truth. Patrick, I will request something for you tonight before I go. Please, Patrick, I want you to play the tape with, I know for sure that Zambo lent Douglas money and he gave him money. And there was a meeting between who and who, and another meeting was supposed to be. Next thing, bam, Zambo shot dead. Patrick, please me and play that for us, please. People need to know what's going down. And investigation still has to go on with Zambo death and other people death and the missing ambassador. Passage, good night. Have a good night until Thursday, God willing. Thank you very much.
Have a good night, my dear brother. We go back to the lines. I'll take this, perhaps make this my final call. Caller, you live.
Good evening, Patrick. After listening to the Bible man just now, I decide to call back in. First, what DuPont need to do, I apologize to God Almighty, then to the Prime Minister, and then to Mr. Mark Brantley, and apologize to the country for lies and the wrong things he do, almost send this country in a panic. Before he can come back on the radio to talk anything, he need to take an ad out on any radio station of his choice and apologizing to the people, the government of St. Kitts, the Prime Minister, Mr. Mark Brantley, and all of them. And he have to realize those who put him up, the German guy up there, the white German guy up there, say used to be upstairs the Pelican Mall. You know, he need to stop listening to him, and he gonna get himself in serious trouble. Patches, you have a good night. All the best to you, your family, and everybody, and continue the good work you're doing. Looking forward to hear you until while the Lord spare our life and your life. God bless you.
God bless you as well, my dear brother. By special request, this is what
I could say to Douglas is that I know that the Jambo had given him money, he had loaned him money, and he had invested. And just before Zambo died, there was a meeting between Halva, myself, and Zambo about how he could recover his monies that he invested in the property and his property and so on. And Halva was supposed to organize a meeting with Zambo and Douglas to make those arrangements. I think those meetings were organized, but shortly after that, Zambo died, shot to death.
Shot to death. Wow.
But Dr. Martin, in that case, right? But why then it did not certify by those who what you call it, the
WTO?
Yeah. Why? If it's been around so long, why?
WTO certifies vaccines. Well, that's for some. Patches, tell us what big developments are expected, such as on YouTube. They show 8 Caribbean countries with mega airport construction expansion. St. Croix will be getting a mega airport terminal with boarding bridges. What is St. Kitts up to? Also the bridge to and from Nevis. Will this still come true before Team Unity's second term ends? The Massey Waterfront parking lot, beg your pardon. The other traffic lights. Tell us the latest. Thank you for the Liburd reads that email. That's the way we're going to end it tonight, my Stray Dog family, because my time is done. But just reflecting, I must reflect before I leave, because of the sad news we continue to hear about the results of that virus, coronavirus, you know. And again, I extend profound condolences to all those who have lost loved ones. I also want to recognize those on the front line in this never-ending battle against this virus. But I confess I am angry. I'm angry to the extent that I believe that there are some in our midst who are culpable. They are to blame. So much so that I believe we can find enough evidence to charge these doctors with manslaughter for continuing to commit the dangerous act of promoting vaccine hesitancy and thus exposing the unvaccinated to hospitalization, and in the 15 instances of death, 14 or 15 instances of death. It is grossly immoral when a doctor who is fully vaccinated yet discourages others by his actions and even hides his own status when asked questions.
Martin, I remember earlier you said you had your shirt that you were going to Newtown Health Center to take your vaccine, to get vaccinated. I'm wondering now, and I'm going to ask you if you are fully vaccinated. That's all I want to ask. Thank you.
Would you consider that to be personal and private medical information?
Not at all. Public figure. But my straight dog family, we are in perilous times. We are in perilous times. And we need each other. Everybody is in agreement that we as a people must come together. All these COVID deaths, and that one today, must have certainly given us a wake-up call. But for us to come together, we first need to reconcile things with each other. End the political tribalism, which only fosters disunity and eventually festers into a political sore. And that's what some people want. Some people want a sharp and healthy division in our small society in St. Kitts and Nevis. And the division is not between the rich and the poor. The division is amongst we, the poor people, and only fueled by politics. Some of us are carrying scars. Some of us are carrying deep political wounds, and we are reluctant to treat them. It's like having a rotten tooth. Remember, we had these toothaches and we are afraid to go to the dentist, or we have a headache and we're afraid to go to the doctor. Then whoop, your pressure gone up, and what happens next? The truth, as we all have differences, we have to open those wounds, treat them, unless they will fester. I am troubled that so many of us hold up the banner of tolerance and social justice, yet we seem to promote the woke culture, attack each other, attack anyone that holds a different view to us. We see things through lens of discrimination, hurt feelings. Put up a smoke screen because they can conveniently apply all sorts of labels. Some claim they believe in free speech, but will only allow speech that they love to hear, that approved by them. They suppress free thought and intellectual inquiry. They have no tolerance for diversity of opinions. That's what we promote on Straight Talk, a diversity of views. Everyone has a view. There's no censorship. There's no attempt to intimidate or cancel those with dissenting views. We don't have or need to reach a uniformity of thought. No, we have a freedom of expression. So I came to tell you tonight that there can be no reconciliation unless we, the people, face the truth. In moments of decision, said Theodore Roosevelt, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The next best thing is the wrong thing. And the worst thing you can do is nothing. Taking the vaccine is the best thing. It will save your lives. The vaccines are safe. It will prevent you from severe disease, hospitalization, and death. That's my story. And I'm gonna stick to it. I won't change it. But my time is done, my Straight Dog family. Dismiss this talk about the UN General Assembly and who should have spoken. The fact is, the head of state or the head of government is the one elected to either deliver their statement from the podium or delegate or have a delegate introduce their pre-recorded statement. And that's exactly what's happened, because it was a hybrid meeting. I want to thank Almighty God for guiding our conversation tonight, and as always, I want to thank you, the callers, those who couldn't get in. I don't know what's wrong. Don't ask me. I'm sorry. But try try and try again. Those of you who listen, I understand the social media is having some problems worldwide. I trust I've got my people, especially those in the diaspora, whether in the Europe, Asia, Africa, or here in the North America. But you are the ones who make straight talk. The Straight Talk family. I want to thank Albert Bradley. I want to thank Beverly Wilkins and John James. They are the ones without whom Straight Talk won't be technologically or technically possible. But all of you, every single one of you, make Straight Talk, and for that reason, I say a big, big thank you. Until we connect on Thursday for another edition of Straight Talk, be good to yourselves and to all whom you meet. I want to say happy belated birthday greetings to Mr. Politics. My dear cousin Ramon Taylor, I want to touch base with you as well. And all those who are celebrating, all those who've lost loved ones, again, my profound condolences. But remember, whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But first of all, you've got to believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light. Thank Him for taking you through the night. And my Straight Talk family, keep moving on. Bye-bye. Until we connect on Thursday.
So I'll keep moving on. I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. See